Hello, my lovely. You got to where you are by flying the plane while you were building it. You may have a VA or a small team, but you still feel invisible and have this small voice way down in the back of your mind that says, "Who the fuck do you think you are to do blank?" You also know that the women changing the effing world have never been the ones who are busy trying to fit in. So if you're listening to this podcast, it's because some part of you already knows that what got you to this point is not going to get you to where you're going next. You also may be raw dogging accidental success, trying to force your technicolor brain into strategies built for people who don't have wiring like yours. And you are so done building a business where you abandon yourself and your nervous system in the fucking process. You are allowed to stay a feral woman and run a calm business. And maybe for the first time since ADHD came onto your radar or your diagnosis, you are finally starting to realize that who you are was not the thing standing in your way of business growth. The problem has been strategies that came from the normie business coaching industry instead of how your brain works. You need a simplified business plan, the self-trust to execute it, and to get the support of a coach who gets your brain the nuance of business growth for ADHD humans and how it all marries together. Hi. That's me. You need to stop rebuilding your entire offer suite every 6 months because you're secretly terrified you can't keep repeating or sustain your current revenue. You do not need to become quieter, smaller, more polished, less emotional, less ambitious, less intense, less weird, more digestible to be successful. You need to trust yourself enough to build differently because your unrepeatable stack of genius is how you stand out in a fucking sea of sameness. And to be clear, your ADHD ass, hyper focusing, pattern recognizing, deeply feeling, and never stop thinking brain is your unfair fucking advantage. If this intro has you nodding along, good. That means you found your people. Welcome to my cult. We have stickers. One final thing. Becoming visible and growing sustainably means no more Miss People Pleaser, no more hiding your Ferrari brain, no more dimming down jack shit. And if you've ever been told to tone it down as a woman with late diagnosed ADHD, it is time to tone your shit all the way the fuck back up to an 11. Because that, my sweet baby angel, is how you create unstoppable momentum in your business, gain new clients, visibility, and do whatever the fuck you put your mind to. You are not born to be forgettable. And as one of my favorite quotes says, well-behaved women rarely make history, and nothing about you or me is well-behaved, at least not anymore. In today's episode, I am doing the final of 4 in this series of the Calm and Clear Marketing series. I already said series, but that's okay. Today, we're going to talk about one of the fastest ways to grow your audience without making one more piece of social media content. And it is called borrowing audiences. You may have heard of this in like some way, shape, or form, but I'm going to go a little bit deeper on this with you and how this is something that can really benefit us as ADHD humans, as founders with ADHD, that you might not have been taught to use. Plus, I'm going to drop a bonus tip right at the end. And it's something that people don't do very well. But if you do it better, your business will grow more exponentially with time if you start implementing this right now. So let's get into it. Welcome back to the ADHD Entrepreneur, the podcast for female founders who were diagnosed with ADHD midlife, 30s, 40s, and you refuse to play by the fucking rules. That means you're my people because we're not made to play by the rules. Now that you are here, though, you're part of my cult and we have stickers. And I'm not kidding. I actually have stickers. And I am Karrie. I am your host. I'm the chief weirdo of Karrie Out Loud. I'm living proof that you can be a feral woman. Actually, if you're watching right now, I'm wearing my feral t-shirt with my necklaces that say extra and ADHD AF. Oop. Hopefully you could hear that. I pulled the microwave from my mouth. I'm a little bit mouthy today. I'm just warning you. If you are new here, I really hope you stay because it gets weirder in the best way. Check out the trailer. That way you'll hear more of my origin story and why I work exclusively with neurodivergent with female founders. So if you're not new here, welcome back. you sexy little business weirdo. And I will have a quick favor. Before we get into it, if this podcast episode helps you in any way, shape, or form, I want you to go leave a 5-star rating and a review on Apple or Spotify. Here's why. 1, I read them. 2, I love doing audits. I love doing social media audits because oftentimes I can find something that is maybe clogging up your flow from follower to getting to know you, talking to you. So what I am doing is offering a free written Instagram audit where I'll look at just basic messaging, your content, calls to action, who you're talking to, and tell you where I see maybe some gaps or disconnect. And it's not because you can't find it. Look, we are too close to our own businesses. We cannot see what we cannot see. And I personally don't just know Instagram. I know marketing. I know audience psychology. I know cross-platform strategies, not just Instagram, and how to do all of this and grow in a way that works for your brain. And I find the gaps in my clients' businesses oftentimes in like 30 minutes of reading their intake form. So if you want to enter, here's how. Leave a rating and review, screenshot it, and either DM it to me or put it in your stories and tag me. Actually, do both. And then get your ass over. So right now for free, go get your ass over to Apple, Susan, and do the fucking thing. And if you're actually named Susan, hey, what's up, girl? The other 2 ways to get into my universe is through the newsletter, and that is exclusively for women like us diagnosed later in life or as an adult. It's the frequency, and you can also get into my universe by booking a 30-minute clarity call. If you are ready to invest and you want to see what working with me looks like and what program of mine would be the best fit, let's talk. We look at your business, your sticky points, and go from there. I don't sit on your head, but I am a specialist. I'm a business growth strategist. It's my boring title. But I specialize in women who are late diagnosed. You may be newer diagnosed or exploring diagnosis. All of that is what I am here to help you with. So you're who I work with day in and day out, and I'm just like you. So who better to help you than someone like me? All the links to get in touch with me and find everything you need, they're all in the show notes. So let's get into today's topic. So we're doing the finale of the Calm and Clear marketing series, and stick around because this is one of those topics where I can almost hear your brain answer me while I'm talking. So I'm going to say borrow audiences, and some of you will immediately go, wait, what does that mean? Is that gross? Is that networking? Do I have to become one of those people who sends weird cold DM? No, that's not what I'm asking you to do here or to try here or just to listen and hear me out. You know, I wouldn't do that to you. I wouldn't tell you to do something unless I did it myself. So when I say borrowing audiences, I mean to get in front of people somebody else has already gathered. That's it. Somebody else has podcast listeners. Somebody else has a larger email list, a Facebook group, a school community, a Mighty Networks community, the Instagram audience, a Threads following, newsletter readers, right? A warm room of humans who already trust them enough to pay attention. And instead of you trying to build all that visibility from scratch by yourself, you collaborate, contribute, guest, show up, or get referred into those places, right? And I want to start with the part that I know that you've probably experienced, especially more lately. If you've ever spent weeks creating content and feel like, okay, I got 47 views, and then watch somebody you know casually mention you on their podcast or in an email or in a group or just mentioning in stories, and all of a sudden more people found you in a day than you've been able to do in weeks, right? That moment can feel amazing and also a little offensive because you're excited. Clearly, you're getting new humans in front of you. Hello, that's amazing. But there's also this part of you that's like, Instagram, like, excuse me, I've been here the whole fucking time. Where have you been hiding these people, you dusty little gremlin? You know, that's the thing. Audience building is not something you have to do alone. You can build it slowly on your own. Have you ever heard the saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together, right? And I live by this. And I know this is hard for some people to be like, oh, yeah, let's share audiences because for some reason in their mindset, they think that there's not enough, but that's not true. I know for a fact that I have had people that are in my audience hire somebody else who I love and, and spoke about. Of course, because I believe there's enough for everybody, right? So you do not have to build this alone. You do not have to post consistently for years and years and years or prove yourself to the algorithm. You can keep showing up in the way that feels good, even when it feels like you're yodeling into a gully. Like you think nobody's listening. You think nobody's paying attention. The normie playbook will just tell you, keep going, keep going, keep going, just be consistent. Maybe if you're patient enough, polished enough, obedient enough, whatever, you'll get there. I'm not going to say your own content doesn't matter because obviously that would be ridiculous. That matters. Your voice matters. And also, if somebody finds you from somebody else's page or somebody else's podcast or whatever, your grid is there for them to binge to get to know you. Think of that. Keep that in mind, right? Your point of view matters. The body of work matters. So your Instagram, your podcast, newsletter, website, whatever it is. All of those things matter because when people find you, they need to understand what you do, who you help, why it matters, what problem you solve, what their next step is. But your own content is not the only doorway into your business. Do you understand? That's what I really want you to understand here. It's one doorway, your content. It's not the whole fucking house. It's a window. And some of you are acting like Instagram, if it does not personally deliver clients to your feet wrapped in a little fucking bow, you have no other options. That's stinking thinking, my lovely. Absolutely not. You have so many other doors. You have other rooms. You have other ways to be seen and visible, and people who already have your type of humans gathered around them. And some of those are not guarding their audience like, a hidden treasure. They're open to having a conversation about collaboration. Those type of people matter, by the way. We need to get to know more of those kind of people. And some of those are some of the women you're seeing do podcasts and whatnot, they are actively looking for people to share their audience with because bringing in different perspectives and different points of view gives their audience something valuable too. A little bit of frying pan of love here. Why do you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result? I'm not saying don't create content. I'm not saying don't not show up somewhere. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying start paying attention to where your business is actually coming from and lead a little bit more into there. Why would you spend years trying to build audience from scratch totally alone when other people have built theirs and would happily share if the fit made sense for you and for them? And I know that you may be like, okay, but I don't have a big audience. Why would they let me borrow theirs? Or what if I don't have anything to offer them? Or isn't this only for people who have a huge platform? No, not necessarily at all. And yes, there are collaborations where audience size matters. Of course, I'm not going to pretend that's not because yes, there are someone who have a list of 50,000 people. That's going to be different than if you have like 47. It doesn't necessarily need to be an audience swap. You can always offer something else to them, to the person who's having you on there. But borrowing audiences is not only list swaps between people with equal numbers. It can also be podcast guesting. It can be contributing one of your digital products to a free bundle that's emailed out to several email lists. It can be going live with a peer. I think it's if you're over 1,000 on Instagram. I'm not sure what it is over on TikTok, but you can go live. It can be showing up in a community where your people already ask questions. It can be getting referred by someone who trusts you. It can be a past client saying to a friend, you need to talk to her. And it can be a community owner bringing you a guest expert. It can be someone on Threads saying, I'm looking for podcast guests who want to talk about ADHD in business, and you raising your hand instead of assuming someone else is more qualified. By the way, I've done that several times and have had great podcast interviews. It was so much fun. And I was able to swap and have them on my podcast too. So I want you to understand, this is not about using people. This is very commonly done. And it's not being weird and trying to steal attention from someone else's platform and then just like disappearing. When you do this well, it's a relationship. There's reciprocity. It's a connection. It's a collaboration. It's you have people who need what I know. I have people who need what you know. Let's create something useful that both of our audiences can benefit from. That's not gross. That is actually a smart fucking business, especially for women with ADHD like us. This can be a huge relief because we are great in conversation, but sometimes we're better when another human is there, or we might freeze up on a short form reel. We may think we're misunderstood in only 2,200 characters, like on Instagram in the caption, But when we have a conversation, someone asks questions, our brains light up, start connecting all the dots, and we can hear the underlying thing. We can riff, we can put the threads together in real time. That's a real benefit. And we may say something that has someone go, oh my God, this is exactly what's happening. And I had no language for it. That's happened too for me. So this is oftentimes where a lot of your brilliance lives. So if you don't have your own podcast, maybe consider starting one. And if you don't want to have that lift, go on other people's and contribute something to their world. And it isn't about sitting alone at your desk and trying to write a perfect carousel or hook while your brain is just like, go organize your sock drawer, because apparently that's super urgent right now. Some of you are spending so much energy trying to create content and formats that don't bring out the best in you, when there are entire spaces, places, rooms where you could show up, have one really good conversation, and let people see the way your brain works. That matters because people don't hire you because you have information. Information is available for free now, 100%. AI, level playing field, right? They trust you and hire you because they trust how you think. They like how you think. They trust the way you see their problem. They trust your perspective. They trust your ability to connect the dots. They trust the energy of, oh, she gets it. She sees what I haven't been able to see yet. Borrowing audiences gives people a chance to experience that more quickly. So I want to talk you through 4 borrowing moves that I want you to think about, and I want you to listen for the one that feels most doable to you, not the one you think you should do, the one that your energy and effort will be well spent on. Not something that a normie business coach would tell you is the right move. I want this to be the one your brain hears and go, okay, yeah, I can see myself doing that without wanting to poke my eye out with a hot stick. That's the one we want. Okay. This is not about collecting strategies. So we're going to choose the ones that fit your brain, your business, your capacity, and the way you naturally build the most trust. So the first way to borrow audiences, of course, is podcast guesting. This can feel like a bigger deal than it needs to be because people turn podcast guesting into this like formal polish. I need like a media kit and a publicist and a microphone that looks like I'm on NPR. You don't need any of that shit. You just need a starting place. You need a clear topic, a clear reason the topic matters to whoever's hosting, to their audience, and just a simple pitch, seeing if you're a good fit. The key with podcast guesting is audience overlap. So you don't need to be on a podcast that is identical to the niche. In fact, sometimes that's not even the best place for you. So if you're a business coach for late diagnosed ADHD women, that's me, you could guest on a podcast about ADHD or about entrepreneurship, women in business, coaching, visibility, burnout, marketing, midlife identity shifts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You see what I'm saying? So the question is not, is this podcast exactly about what I do? The question is, are my people listening? Because if your people are listening, that makes sense. Once you get on the podcast, your job is not to dump every single thing you know on the listener, okay? It's to have a real conversation. Teach something useful, one thing, make the host look amazing for inviting you, of course, and give their listeners a clear next step if they want to know more for you. Yes, use a call to action. Hello. Yes. And the last part, when you get on this podcast and you have a great conversation and they feel good, and then at the end they say, you can find me on Instagram. No, that is not a strategy. If you're borrowing someone else's audience, give them a door into your world. Send them a free resource. Send them to your newsletter. Send them a specific podcast episode. Send them a quiz. Send them an audit, whatever. Send them to somewhere they can continue the relationship with you, because otherwise you're relying on them to remember your name, open social media, spell it correctly, find you, understand what you do. Let's be real, right? Make the next step obvious and easy to take. If you're thinking, okay, but how do I even find podcasts? I want you to make this practical. Look at podcasts your peers have been on. Search Apple Podcasts and Spotify about the topics that your clients care about. There are Facebook groups where people are literally looking for podcast guests. Let me know. I have one that has like 70,000 members inside that I know of, and it's a great place if you want to be a guest. You can look on Threads because people are always asking for recommendations for podcasts. Watch people's Instagram stories because sometimes creators will say they're booking guests or they're booking on a specific topic. They're out there. You have to look, but they're out there. And when you pitch, don't make it vague. Do not send a message that said, I'd love to be on your podcast sometime. Unless you're already having a warm conversation, that would be natural. But if you're pitching, you want to make sure that you don't put the work onto the podcast host to figure out why. Why? Tell them, hey, I'd love to be on your show because I really love it. And the way you talk to women about building businesses in the messy middle, I think your audience would benefit from a conversation about XYZ. I could talk about this, that, or the other thing and give them a clear path for the next step. That's it. Simple pitch. You're not going for big podcasts yet, huge, massive audiences. You're going for peers, right? That's how you borrow an audience without being weird about it. And you make sure that the host is fine with that last part, with the pitch. The second borrowing move is bundles and email list sharing. I was not even fully aware of that until this year. I've known that people share emails. I've seen that, but I didn't understand that there was like a way that people do that, right? So this is one of those strategies that they've seen done in a chaotic way where it's like a bunch of random freebies and it's it's like this is one of those strategies that people either don't know or they've seen done poorly. And that's not what I'm talking about. A good bundle is when multiple business owners or creatives, you give a free resource or training or template, workbook, private podcast, something that's truly useful. And everybody promotes that bundle to their own audience. So instead of you getting in front of your own list, your resource is now being promoted by, let's say, 40 other people's lists. That can grow your email list quickly, especially if the bundle is in alignment with what you do or how you help your people. The word align is doing a lot of work here because not every bundle is worth your energy. Some are way too broad. Some have no clear audience. Some have contributors who don't promote. Some are just like a pile of freebies with no strategy. So if you have ADHD, I especially don't want you joining a bundle that is going to require 19 new tasks and a bunch of new tech you hate and a bunch of weeks in Google folders. No, we're not doing that. The best version of this is when you already have a strong resource or you can create something simple and useful without your whole week going to crap, right? If you already have a free guide or a mini training, a checklist, a podcast, playlist, a workbook, if you already have, that gets to be your contribution. That's what I do. I definitely have given full programs because if it's going out to human beings, I want to give them everything I've got. And if they want to have a conversation about how it fits in their business, they will talk to me, and they have. I want you to understand that you will immediately want to try to overbuild this, but any kind of contribution you make needs to solve one clear problem. That's it. And make sure you name it clear, not clever. So if you help coaches with ADHD simplify their marketing, it could be simple. 3 places in your content is leaking buyers. It could be a short training, the offer suite lead keeping you in $0 months. You see what I'm saying? So simple, clear, useful. That is what makes someone opt in. Now, before you join a bundle, I want you to ask smart questions. Who's it for? How many contributors are there? What is the promotion requirement? Your own lift. How many emails you have to send out? Does the host have an audience that overlaps with yours? Are contributors required to email their list? You really want that. Is there a theme that makes sense, or does it feel like you are shoved kind of between different offers that don't make sense with what you do? Because if your audience is established ADHD women, coaches building sustainable businesses, the room needs to make sense. I'm talking like that's my example, but what is yours? Borrowed audiences work because of trust, because of relevance, not because you just have a freebie that you threw out there. It's intentional. Number 3 is going live with other business owners whose audience overlaps with yours. This is one that is so easy, has like no production, very low lift. You basically choose a topic, both of you log in, and you have a conversation. The end. And it goes out to everyone in your audiences. That's how you're sharing it. That's it. And you don't have to like create anything for this. It gets to be simple. And for our brains, live conversations are so much better than anything that feels overly polished. If you just kind of get to riff and do things in the moment and say, yes, nobody talks about this and nobody talks about that, that's where your people are going to start to feel you. So for example, if you're a business coach and you know a copywriter, our audience is going to overlap with yours. You could go live if you know a sales coach. You could go live if you know a systems person. You can go live. Do you see what I'm saying here? And they're useful conversations. They're conversations you're having with people you genuinely adore. And that's important. Don't make the topic too broad. Don't call it business tips, make it specific enough where somebody's like, oh shit, that's me. Where somebody's like, oh shit, that's me. What to do when your business is making money but still feels like a fucking chaotic mess. How to stop over delivering in your coaching offers. Why your audience is watching but not buying. Why you're stuck in the business friend zone. Do you see? These topics give people a reason to show up because they see themselves in the problem. And this isn't about beating them over the head. This is about telling them that there's a way to help themselves. And at the end, you give them a next step. DM you a word, download a resource, join a newsletter. Da, da, da. You don't end saying, this was fun. Bye. Follow for more. No, both of you. Calls to action. Calls to action. Bring them into your world, into your universe. Tell them what to do next. In a busy world, we need to be told what to do next because we have decision fatigue. And if somebody is loving what you're doing, I know it sounds ridiculous, but it may not register like, oh, I should reach out to her. No, but when you say it enough times, it starts happening. I swear. CTAs missing is one of the biggest things my clients experience across the board. So start doing calls to action and watch what happens. All right. Last but not least, the 4th is show up inside of entrepreneur communities. Facebook, school, finding networks, paid memberships that are low cost, but high exposure, free groups, local business groups, niche industry rooms, all of those places where people gather and they're asking questions. And I know Facebook groups can feel like, but I'm telling you right now, some clients of mine are having like insane traction on Facebook because their audience is there. It's there more. And once we get that information, we know if we're not getting traction over there, we know that's not a place to lean into, right? But here's the thing. They still work when you use them like a human being and people are asking questions somewhere. Why not bring them into a place of yours where they can ask questions directly to you and get an answer maybe once or twice a week? This is about getting more visible, getting more people to see you in longer form. They're asking what to do when they feel stuck. They're asking whether they should start a podcast or raise their prices or change their niche or hire a VA, or they're about to burn their business down. Lots of my clients hire me right at that point. So it doesn't happen, duh. You would show up and answer. And you don't have to pitch. Be a contributor. Interact with people. Answer the question right there. A lot of the times we're helpers. Answer the fucking question. Give your thoughtful perspective. Share a reframe if that's your jam. Like, tag somebody if they're a better fit for somebody. Let people see how your brain works, because people do not hire you because you have a great Instagram bio that you keep tweaking. They hire you because they start trusting you and the way your brain works and the way you think. They trust your ability to see like the actual problem, and they trust your point of view. And they trust you're not just repeating the same basic shit 700 times and being beige, right? Community visibility lets people experience you in that context. And when you do that consistently, not obsessively, not all day long, not as a replacement for running your business, because boy, that is something that could easily happen. No, being consistent enough that people start recognizing your name. Why not? That leads to someone clicking on your profile, someone DMing you, someone tagging you in a post for somebody else. You didn't build that group. You didn't gather that room, but you showed up inside in a way that actually made people associate you with a specific kind of help. That's strategic and that is useful. And that's also very doable if you choose one or two places. You do not have to be in 100. Stop that shit. One or two is fine. When we have too many, that's where our brain gets in trouble. You see that it's working. You want to go and immediately do it on 7 other platforms. Don't. Just pick 1 or 2 places. Be helpful and let it build. Okay? The bonus that I promised you. Now, before I give you action steps, I want to give you this bonus move. And this is something that you probably think about, but may not be doing as actively as you could be. And we're going to change that right now. So you're leaving money on the table every month because you are not asking happy clients, peers, past clients, collaborators, business friends. You're not asking for referrals in any intentional way. And I know why. It feels vulnerable, weird, makes you feel like, your self-trust gap is going, why are you doing that? Your brain is like, what if they say no? What if they don't know anyone? What if they think I'm desperate? What if they like the work, but not enough to refer me? What if the brain, our brain, she dramatic. She has flair. But what's actually happening is you have happy clients who would refer you if it made it easy for them. And they're not automatically doing it because they're busy. They have their own business or life or clients or inbox or laundry or whatever. They're not sitting around going, how can I help Karrie's business today? They're not doing that. That would be great, obviously, but that's not how human beings operate. We're too caught up in our own shit to operate that way most of the time. So if you want referrals, you have to make referrals easy. And the best way to do that, especially as neurodivergent women, is to stop making this referral ask something that's this real vulnerable, like one-off, something that requires like courage, timing, memory, emotional regulation, and the perfect language. Nope, that ain't it. Make it a system. Duh. Build it into the way your business works. This could look like an automation at the 30-day mark after someone starts working with you. You can put a feedback form and a referral form and ask them if they'd be willing to do one or both. It could look like a referral question inside of that feedback form. So you could send a feedback form after the first 30 days and ask for a referral in that form. It could be a renewal conversation. It could happen after a client shares a win. It can be a short email that goes out to past clients once a quarter. It can be something you bring up in a conversation if it makes sense. The method matters not. Normalizing this, that's what matters. When referrals are part of your process day in and day out, it stops feeling weird. It stops feeling like you're holding some cardboard sign saying, please send me a client. That ain't it. It becomes normal. One of my favorite ways to do this is my 30-day feedback form. When a client buys your offer, you set up an automatic feedback email that goes out at the 30-day mark. My form is called Karrie's No Bullshit Make Me Better feedback form. That's what I want. I want to really know their feedback because it makes me a better coach, right? You can call it whatever makes sense to you, whatever makes sense to your brand. But that form gives you useful feedback from the client's experience, which is important because you need to know what's working and what's landing and what's not. What feels clear, what may not be clear enough. And what are they getting out of it? Is there any constructive feedback? But also include a referral ask as a standard question. Something like, ready? Who do you know who would be a great fit for this work? That's not pushy. That's not gross. It's normal. That's business. So at the 30-day mark, it's a great time because the relationship is fresh. You're in the work with them. They're starting to see movement or momentum in whatever's going on in their life, their business, whether you're business to business or business to consumer. They know why they hired you. And the problem you help them solve is really fresh in their mind. And that is a much warmer moment than popping into someone's inbox 6 months later and being like, hey, do you know anybody? Because that probably feels gross. I'm going to double dog dare you to make this really simple and do this manually. And I want you to message your last 3 happy clients and ask for a referral. 3. Not everyone you've ever worked with, though. 3. This is not some campaign. Just email them asking for referrals. It can be direct. Don't pussyfoot around it. Be direct first. Hey, I love or loved working with you, and I'm opening space for a couple new clients. Who do you know who's dealing with blank and would be a great fit for my work? That's enough. Then here's what you do. If somebody says, oh, I don't know anyone, don't make it weird. Keep talking to them. Continue the conversation. Don't be an asshole, but lead with business because you don't want to be like, hi, how are you? Hey, that's fake. That's bullshit. That's not how we roll. Go right for it. And then have a normal conversation. Let them understand that a no doesn't have to feel awkward. You can just continue on and hang out and have a conversation. Don't warm them up first. That's gross. Not, hey, how are you? Lead with this business ask. It is cleaner, it is more honest, and it feels less weird because you're not pretending you reached out just to check in. How you doing? Nope, that's not what you're doing. You reached out for a referral. You can say, hey, quick business question for you, and then ask it. And then after it, say, oh, how's everything going? I was thinking about you, blah, blah, blah. Whatever it is you want to say that feels good and natural to you. The order matters. Do the ask first, then connect. They won't feel baited. You literally ask the question first because clear is kind, okay? Asking for referrals is not begging. It's not desperate. Give referrals. That's another thing you need to make sure you are doing. This is not you needing to prove anything. This is you making it easy for happy people who are in your universe to send other happy people who are in their universe your way. Most people love referring somebody who's good at what they do. They just need that prompt. One final action step. Simple, direct, not too many options. I want you to pitch yourself to one person with a similar audience in some way. One. It could be a podcast host whose listeners overlap with your ideal client. It could be someone you want to go live with on Instagram. It could be someone on Threads who's looking for podcast guests. It could be someone who runs a Facebook group, network, etc. I don't care. And when you pitch, be specific. Don't send, oh, I'd love to collaborate. No, be specific. Don't just say, I'd love to collaborate sometime. That puts all the work on the other person. No, you do the work. Tell them, I love the way you talk to blah. I have a conversation blah. Make it a real pitch. It doesn't have to be super long or perfect. It needs to make the yes easy. And because this is the finale, I'm not letting you wiggle out of the referral piece. I want you to message 3 happy clients, like I said, and ask who would be a good fit for your work. That's it. Both small, pitch to one person, message 3 happy clients. The end. It might take 20 minutes if you don't let your brain turn it into you're writing a dissertation. So set a timer, write the messages, send them. Don't overthink it. 10 minutes is all you get. Set a timer, but the messages need to go first. This is the kind of business growth that does not require you to make any additional content, dance for the algorithm, reinvent your fucking marketing strategy. This helps you create relationships and warm relationships that already exist. Why not go a little deeper? And with that, I'm going to wrap up the Calm and Clear series. I want to zoom out for a minute and bring this all together because each episode gave you like a little different button to push or thing to do, but the full series really has the same core idea. And that's your marketing doesn't necessarily need to be louder or heavier or more complicated or performative or dependent on forcing your brain into something or a strategy that just makes you want to freaking, you know, hit your head against the wall. Clear, open doors, fit the way you actually love to build trust the most. In part 1, we talked about your content not converting because people did not have a clear enough next step. You may have been creating content that made people nod, relate, save, share, or think, oh my gosh, totally fucking gets me. But if you were not giving them a clear door to walk through, you're leaving them standing there with all of that, like, oh, I understand what's happening and like nowhere to go. So in part 2, we talked about the 3 types of humans that are landing on any social media page or any type of content you're creating. The person who's brand new needs to understand why you're for them. The person who's been around a while needs to build some deeper trust and understand what next steps with you look like. And there's person who is already close to buying and has their credit card out and they need a clear reason to take the next step. We also talked about the repurposing gold mine that already exists in your DMs, in your client conversations, box or thread, the language your clients are actually using. In part 3, we talked about networking the feral way, which is not going to random events and collecting business cards from people who want to sell you whatever. It's understanding that there's 4 buckets that people fall into. Ones who can hire you, refer you, collaborate with you, or connect with you. It's becoming the kind of business owner who gives referrals and makes connections and introduces people who would genuinely dig each other that becomes known as someone who's generous, useful, and specific. And if that is who you are, why not do what you naturally do anyway? I'm guessing that's you in some way, shape, or form. And lastly, in today's part 4, we talked about borrowing audiences, asking for referrals, which is just a really nice way to say that you don't have to keep building alone if you think you do. Like I said earlier, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together, right? So you don't have to act like your content is like the only way people find you. You don't have to keep hoping that happy clients just magically tell other people about you. You can pitch yourself, you can collaborate, you can show up in other rooms, you can ask directly, you can let other people's audiences become one of the ways new humans find you, period. You may fall in love with one of these methods and be like, I'm pulling back a little bit on social media. This is way better for me. You don't need a new strategy or a new platform or to start over. You need to utilize things that are naturally fitting with you and your brain. And that is how, as an ADHD founder, you make more money. Not by doing more, by doing less with more intention, using doors that already exist. Get clear where people go next. Talk to the humans who are already paying attention. Network like an actual person. Borrow audiences instead of building alone in the dark like a fucking content goblin. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Just sitting in this dark room making content. Ever been there? I have. So asking for referrals, last but not least, instead of hoping everyone becomes a psychic, even though some of my clients are highly psychic. So that's funny. Calm and clear marketing is not always passive. And that's the thing I think that people are forgetting right now. They're trying to feel like, oh, it's passive like it was in 2020 or 2021. No, it's a lot more active now. And you know what to do. You know what fits your brain. You know what needs to be dropped, even though it might frighten you or make you nervous. And I want you doing the things that feel better to you, feel more natural, and stop treating your marketing like a freaking punishment. It's not. It gets to be fun. It gets to be fun. And please stop outsourcing your self-trust to people who don't get your brain. I want you to stop trying to look consistent in ways that are costing you actual capacity. I want you to build the kind of business where growth does not require you to become somebody else. That is why I'm giving you this series. I want to make sure that you understand that social media is not everything. And I love Gary Vee, and I know he's correct about this. Social media is going to be less social and more interest-based. It's something we know is on TikTok. It's something that Instagram's algorithm is always chasing. So just understand that you get to have other options and opportunities, and maybe you haven't thought of any of these. You've made it all the way through 4 parts. Now, here's your final next step. I know I've given you like 17 next steps. Actually, this is 3. Book your clarity call with me, boo. Just do the fucking thing. You understand now, you see, I'm not going to ever force you into some kind of marketing that isn't going to work with you. We're going to figure out what works and what is actually working in the marketing itself too, and make sure this all fits you and your brain. Not all of them are going to, but you're going to hear this episode and go, oh my gosh, I like that way and that way. How do I even implement that? That's where I come in. So this is data. You don't have to force every strategy into your business ever. This clarity call is where I look at your business, your sticking points, your marketing, your offers, your brain, your capacity, and we see what ADHD friendly pieces are missing, what we need to pull back, what we need to lean into. DM me chat on Instagram at Karrie Out Loud, or DM me I'm ready, or DM me I'm next. I don't care. Any words that say, hi, Karrie, I want to talk to you. That could be it. Or grab the link in the show notes to book the call, and let's get you a calm and clear ADHD friendly marketing path. Okay. One final thing today. This is episode 201. I still can't believe I passed 200. And this is something I have never done. Is there I can't believe literally in 201 episodes, I've never asked this. Is there a topic you've been dying to hear through an ADHD lens and you cannot find it? DM me that topic. If it's been covered, I'll send you the episode. If it's something in my wheelhouse and it's not in an episode, I will absolutely cover it on the show. You ask, I deliver. That's how I roll. And with that, we will end today's episode. And I do not care if you're a thousandaire, 100,000aire, or you're running $1 million business. I understand business growth strategy. I am a life coach and I understand ADHD brains, and it's all married together. I would love for you to come and tell me which episode you listened to that you saw yourself in. Send it. I read every single one. I respond personally. A DM can change everything. So for realies, go do it. Until next time, I see you. I got you. And you made it through the whole fucking series. And if you didn't, go back 3 episodes and start with episode 1. And now it's time to book a call so we can find your ADHD friendly marketing path together. All joking aside, I'm fucking rooting for you always. Stay feral, motherfucker. Bye.